Revolutionary greetings, comrades. It's a Red Sunday and we are discussing developments in Haiti. Comrades requested us to do a video. They want to have a better understanding on what is happening in Haiti. As usual, it's important, if we want to understand the current events, we need to look into history so that we have this better understanding and we are able to relate on the current events and what has been happening in Haiti historically. Haiti is one half of an island which is Paniola, and the other half was inhabited by Dominican Republic, one of the first islands that Christopher Columbus landed on when he made his first voyage. Haiti became the most lucrative, the richest colony for the French Empire. It had the most Africans that were brought in as slaves. There was terrible slavery in Haiti. Haiti is known to be the only successful slave revolt in history. It was able to defeat the world's most powerful army, the Napoleon Army. It defeated white supremacy and colonialism, slavery at once. That was in 1804, following a 13-year guerrilla warfare against the French army. So in 1804, Haiti declared independence. Most people say Haiti is paying for that revolution of 1804 on what is currently happening in Haiti. Some people are saying Haiti is still paying for what it did in 1884 in defeating white supremacy, slavery at the same time. Haiti, from its independence in 1804, it was embarked by the West. It was cut off, isolated by the West for 60 years after it gained independence. The United States of America, France, and their friends did not want to do any business with Haiti. It's an island got cut off because of the revolution of 1804. The Western powers kept trying to re-enter and take Haiti. They failed. One Haiti president decided to negotiate with France to be left alone. So they were trying to take over Haiti after the 1804 revolution. So to try and have peace in Haiti, one president in Haiti then decided to negotiate with France to say, look, leave us alone. We'd rather pay you than you keep on fighting us. So he was paying, Haiti was paying an indemnity, which means that France was extorting, it was an extortion, Haiti. In today's numbers, historians are saying Haiti paid more than 30 billion US dollars to France. And this money was being borrowed from France. So you take out a loan in French commercial banks to pay France, paying for your own freedom. This is what Haiti was doing. In 2003, the Haitian president demanded that money back from France. That actually led to the coup of 2004. We will discuss about the 2004 in the other next video. But the background is that the president of Haiti in 2003 says, you owe us over 30 billion US dollars. You need to pay us our money. And there was a coup in 2004. The West never forgave Haiti for what happened in 1804, the 1804 revolution. The imperialists will never forgive anyone that it defeats them. In the discussion, it was not a video, but we've been writing on Facebook or Twitter space, discussing Kukuraondi, the genocide in Matabeleland and parts of Midlands. And we're saying part of the causes of Kukuraondi is that because the British thought or understood that the Ndebele in Zimbabwe are cousins of the Zulu, and that they were defeated in Esandlwana in 1879, and they did not forgive the Zulu for that. And by extension, in the Ndebele, who they view as the cousins. And also the 1896 Ndebele uprising. But we'll discuss in another video. But the point we are making is that the imperialists, the Western powers, will not forgive anyone who defeats them in battle. The Western media claims there are always stereotypes and the propaganda. The media, Western media, is used as a propaganda tool to try and present hate and those that do not agree with the West as bad. So the media, Western media, has been in the forefront, claiming that the blacks in Haiti are unable to run their own affairs, simply because of what happened in 1804. So they will write all these funny things, saying the people in Haiti are cannibalists, they eat white people, and so forth, and present them as bad people, as people who are unable to run their own affairs. I've seen Zimbabweans will be quoting Ian Smith, saying Ian Smith was right when he said that blacks cannot rule themselves. And now it is us. It is the neo-colonial mentality that drives us to keep on publishing what Smith says. In South Africa, they keep on publishing what P.W. Botha said, that blacks cannot run their own affairs. And the media, the Western media, keeps on saying that the people of Haiti cannot run their own affairs. This is what is said of us blacks in Africa, that post-liberation we are unable to manage our own affairs. This is the philosophy of neo-colonialism, that then fund regime change movements to remove governments that are not puppets of the West. So if you are not a puppet of the West, you are in charge of government, the media will begin to generate propaganda. You are committing human rights abuses. They will write nasty things. If it is not the human rights abuses, they will create a lot of stories to use that as a pretext to isolate you even from your own people, funding organizations that will trying to isolate you from your own people. The media in the USA is known for running articles saying the people of Haiti are cannibals. The media tries to cast the Haitians as not human beings, unable to run their affairs because of the 1804 revolution. But what has been the economy of Haiti? Like we said, to understand what is currently obtaining in Haiti, we need to understand the past. Down to Barack Obama, the whole point had been to suppress the heightened wages. Obama was saying Haiti cannot raise wages to $5 a day, right? He kept on saying that you need to pay a minimum wage of $2 a day. And Haiti has the lowest wages in the Caribbean. So Obama will insist that do not raise the minimum wage to more than $5 a day. Keep it at $2 a day. Haiti is the longest neo-colonial experiment in modern world. France forced the payment of about 30 billion US dollars, as we've already discussed, for Haiti to be left alone and to be recognized. Haiti did not finish paying this. Imagine, Haiti started paying France from 1825 to 1947, just to be left alone, paying for its freedom. And as I've said, they had to borrow from France banks to pay France. to pay for their own freedom in their own country. They led a successful revolution, 13 years of guerrilla warfare, and they won in 1804. But for them to be left alone, because these Western powers kept on invading Haiti, and the president said, we'll rather pay you an indemnity, which they have been doing from 1825 until 1947. And of course, the United States also was upset that France and Germany were having inroads into the banking industry in Haiti when it wanted to take full control of the region. The United States invaded Haiti in 1915, sent Marines, took Haiti gold to New York, and occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934. It took over Haiti economic, the infrastructure, and political system, claiming there were ongoing assassinations in Haiti. When the US invade any country, they go there on the pretext of protecting the people. Because they were claiming that in Haiti, there were assassinations by the government of Haiti directed at the Haitian citizens. And the US invaded in 1915 on the pretext of protecting the people. But it was an invasion, and the objective was to take over the economy, the infrastructure, the political system in Haiti. That is to say, to appoint the president, to appoint the prime minister, to appoint a parliament, to reflect the views of the United States of America. What Haiti did before the invasion of 1915, in its 1905 constitution, Haiti had a clause which said that no white man can come back to Haiti as a landowner or a boss. It was a constitutional clause, very revolutionary, right? That if you are a white person, you cannot come back to Haiti as a landowner and a boss, meaning that the economy of Haiti, they wanted the economy of Haiti to be in the hands of the people of Haiti. But when the United States of America invaded Haiti in 1915, the first thing that they did was to remove that clause. The American president, the 32nd US president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, he actually wrote that amendment himself to remove that clause, that no white person could come back to Haiti as a landowner and as a boss. During the occupation of Haiti by the United States, the Haiti money was printed in New York. Once you print money in Europe, the Haitian money was printed in New York. So once you print money in New York, it means the entire economy is controlled from New York. New York is controlled from the United States. We are going to do 3 parts in this video because it's a bit long, guided by our research. So as we conclude, what is also interesting is that during the US occupation from 1915 to 1934, remember the League of Nations was established in 1919. Haiti was one of the co-founders of the League of Nations in 1919. But the United States was not a member of the League of Nations, but it was there during the conversations. So Haiti is part of, or is the co-founders of the League of Nations. Is meant to be a sovereign state, but it is under occupation. During the US occupation, as I've already said, Haiti was not considered as sovereign by the US because they will appoint the political leadership. Because the United States, there are many comrades. I don't know where they get this from. There are many comrades that think that the United States like black people. I'm not pursuing a race politics. No. But in the context of the United States, race goes with class. So racism and the class questions in the context of the US, it is interlinked. So when we talk of the question of race, we are basically talking of the class question, because the United States did not recognize for 60 years when Haiti, a black country, gained her independence in 1804 after a 13-year guerrilla warfare, a revolution. They did not recognize for 60 years. Later on, they invaded Haiti in 1915 to 1934. They did not want, and they still do not want, a black independent state. They would rather appoint their own puppets to run the affairs of that country, as was the case during the occupation of Haiti, as is the case with what they are currently doing. This is why we're taking this video saying Haiti is a neo-colonial experiment. It has been the longest neo-colonialism experiment by the West. So the United States would prefer to have land where there are no black people, empty land. They do not want a state that is run by black people in terms of their norms, their own system, controlling their own economy. Haiti's population today is about 13 million. Haiti is the only country in the Caribbean that fought for its freedom in 1804. Others negotiated for their independence. It's the same with a number of African countries who have discussed this. What is important is that Haiti, even though today 2 official languages in Haiti is French and Creole, the local language, Creole. Creole is spelled C-R-E-O-L-E. Haitians maintained their own indigenous language, Creole. Others did not. They negotiated their independence. Those Francophone countries in the Caribbean, they are just but French territories. Haiti is the only country in the Caribbean region that fought for its independence. And the Western media writes lots of propaganda to create enmity in the Caribbean, for the rest of the Caribbean people to view Haiti as bad people, as cannibalists, as people who are backwards, so that the United States and her friends will take over Haiti. So we're going to continue discussing Haiti. The notes that we are using are borrowed from Professor Jemima Perry. Is an academic from Haiti. She was born in Haiti. So we'll continue this discussion. Please write in the comment section, like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we hope that comrades do understand why we're saying we must dismantle neo-colonialism in Africa. Amandla, comrades.